Hey everybody, it's Tuesday the 18th of July, and I'm coming back to share a little bit about working with Martin Landau. I forgot to mention anything about him yesterday. Last weekend, Saturday, the actor Martin Landau passed away at the age of 89, and I had the great pleasure of meeting and working with him on a film here in Omaha. The film being Lovely Still. Film work in large cities is probably nothing to a lot of people, but being from Omaha, it's a big deal. To me, well, this was my first time getting to work on a feature film with known actors. So it was a big deal to me personally, and I think it was a big deal to a lot of Omahans. Trying to look when this happened, maybe around 2007 or 8. My friend Nick Fackler was the writer and the director of this film. He started writing this film when he was a teenager. See the film. It's really quite good, and it's also quite impressive how mature of a theme Nick took on as a teenager about love in this movie, Love and Loss. Martin Landau was a gas to work with, and I learned a lot from him. We really became friends. I learned a lot quickly about film and Hollywood type protocols, how depending on your rank on the team, if you're in production, you have status. If you're below that, you do your job, get out of the way. You don't talk to the actors and all that sort of a thing. I had never done film work before, but my friend Nick, who this was his first feature film, and it was a major accomplishment for him, wanted me to share in the experience. So he hired me as an assistant to the wardrobe specialist. I had never, done it before, but I learned a lot. Working with Martin Landau and the other Academy Award winning actress, Ellen Burstyn, was amazing. I'll say on record that the woman that I worked for, she knew her work well, has a lot of experience, is still doing a lot of work in Omaha. But there came a point where her style really conflicted with Ellen Burstyn, and Ellen said that she would no longer work with this person and only wanted to work with me, which elevated my status from being assistant to being in charge of the wardrobe after a time in the movie. Like I said, I didn't assemble the wardrobe for this movie, but I ended up in charge of it. The other thing that was amazing about it was Ellen Burstyn recognized, that she had put a thing on me. I really didn't know a lot about what I was doing, so she helped me. She literally, one thing I can share is we had a hem that needed to just go up real quick for a scene. I knew I could do it, but since she didn't know I could do it, she did it for me and showed me. I just stayed quiet, and that's another thing I learned. It's like, just like in the service, rank does matter, and in certain situations you just have to be quiet and just have to do what you're told. And do you get screamed at and yelled at? Yeah, and you find out early on that if you don't realize it's not personal, it's about getting things done, you'll never make it. And I learned quickly. And one of the first people to yell at me significantly was Martin Landau, because as being the person with script, I had to work. As being the person with wardrobe, I had to work with the scriptie, or the person who was in charge of continuity, to make sure that the look is the same from scene to scene, because you can't shoot everything in continuous order depending on your budget. and so I had to make sure that colors were a certain way, this and that, you know, and so the assistant director, the first assistant director would often tell me I need to be on, well, I needed to be on set all the time, but he would want me within a certain proximity of the main actors. And in this one day of shooting early on, because of where the AD kept telling me to stand, I ended up in Martin Landau's line of sight, which is definitely a no-no. When they're in their scene, they don't need or want any distractions. And he just kept yelling, "Get the hell out of my line of sight," you know. And at first I said, "This is what the AD told me to do," and he just bit my head off. "Get the fuck out of my line of sight so I can do this fucking scene." So I did, you know. I was conflicted and really worried that I was doing the wrong thing. But after the scene, Martin came to me and he explained, you know, slightly irritated, you know, that's something that you don't do, you know. You stay out of the line of sight. Well, that was kind of cool because that broke the ice, you know. I myself, not having the background of Hollywood nor being in the military, I really personally kind of shit on the idea that some people are not approachable. I just don't like that idea, don't honor it for the most part. And Martin and I became friends, and he let me get away with it because I was, again, just the wardrobe assistant. But we became friends, and I would talk to him all the time, and actually would spend time in his dressing room talking about music. When we would be getting ready for scenes, he actually asked me about my life, finding out that my parents were jazz musicians. He loved jazz, knew about jazz. I'm not talking about Benny Goodman. He knew about the stuff, swing, you know. He knew about Fletcher Henderson, Chick Webb, and different musicians, you know, and swing. I mean, you know, he loved Charlie Parker. So we got to a point where I had the run of the set like the director and like the other people in production, even though I was not technically in production, but because I was the wardrobe person that they went to, I was. And Martin was gracious. I mean, I learned a lot about Hollywood, about the Screen Actors Guild, which he started, Mission Impossible, about racism in Hollywood, and some of his stories as a Jewish man. It was fantastic. And so he lived a good long life, 89 years, rest in peace. I wanted to just speak about that right quick. I also wanted to mention that, yeah, I like talking about what I've done, you know. Is that narcissism? No. It's look it up in the dictionary. I'm not a narcissist, you know. I care about people, and people who know me know about how I have been and am in the community. So, some other stuff that I've done movie-wise is I've been involved in 5 films now. Flyover Country was the first film I did where I wrote the soundtrack. It's a locally produced film, gay-oriented. It's okay. I'd say it's worth seeing, though, and I need to watch this again. This is probably better now. Sometimes it takes time to appreciate things. It was quite a learning experience, though. But right after I did this film, I was hired, based on my work here, to be the wardrobe supervisor of this entire film, April Showers, which was made based on the events at Columbine. I worked with Tom George and Ileana Douglas on this movie. Andrew Robinson was the director and writer. This was another amazing experience. I learned a lot. And then I've also done a film which was ruined by the producers screwing up the money situation in Iowa. But I worked wardrobe on the film The Scientist, which basically died after the people who put the film got caught taking advantage of laws in Iowa. I think the producer is still in prison as a result. But These are 4 films I've worked on. Actually, there's 2 more. Actually, I'm an extra in the film Lucky with Colin Hanks and Anne Margaret. There's a scene early in the film where the girl, Allie, I forget her name, one of the principals in the film, is getting out of an elevator, and I'm one of the people in the elevator, so I get a nice screenshot. And Nick Fackler's other film, it's a documentary, Sick Birds Die Easy, about the ayahuasca experience. I helped with sound on that. There's a psychedelic remix on the DVD where you can watch the film to this altered soundtrack, which I helped to engineer. I just wanted to share that. I actually had someone ask me about it through Facebook, asked me if I would talk about working with Martin Landau. It was a wonderful experience. He was a great actor. You know, I haven't seen nearly all of his work. Just proud to say that I had the opportunity to work with him and call him a friend for a time.